Okay, let's get started. Good morning. So, markets came back from an attempt to move down yesterday, and they held that prior low. So we got a little bit of a bottoming pattern here. And I've always found personally this to be a rough, or not rough, difficult one to trade with any real commitment other than intraday. Because we've got a bottoming type of a pattern here, and I no doubt of that. The candlesticks are suggesting that we've got a red bar, big red bar, which, after a gap down and several days down like this, is suggestive of at least a short-term stall in this momentum. And have no doubt that this downside momentum had power to it. It's the same way as this had power to the upside. So now you had the inside day, and then, of course, you can see the gap lower and the reversal that, this support. So a prior candle's low is going to be a reference point of support intraday. And that's where we saw buyers begin to step up, and then it rallied up toward the high of the day yesterday, and it was able to hold on to the gain. So that's obviously a positive. And now we can see that prices on the hourly 24-hour chart is starting to inch up above that high into this, what we call the void above, because that was a gap. So there's some overnight trading right here. We'll have to see. I mean, this has been consolidating in that area. So I have to think that some of this supply has been absorbed or kind of just taken care of since prices went sideways here. And now they're starting to push up. So when we look at patterns like this and we look at multiple time frames, they tell us what happened, and that creates a bias as to what we believe should follow. And what this is telling me right now is that this should be able to follow up into this void here. And right, Howard, we have these bottoming tail bars, which tell us that buyers are stepping up on the dip, and it should go higher. Now, of course, you see something like that, you say, well, higher to where? Where might it go to? And we just look at the next reference point of where sellers should show up. And we've got, that tail there, that void, and this pivot low was in alignment with that, where it tried to hold initially and then failed on the news. Now, it doesn't mean that it absolutely will go up there, and that's part of the trap that, in a sense, that we can all fall into as to, we think, well, this is what's on the chart. We don't have any other information to suggest at this time that it can't do that. This is where sellers should want to step up if they're going to do that, because there's nothing based on the chart to stop it. Now, what we'll look for intraday is the concept of what we call creating resistance. In other words, so if it can theoretically come up here and it gets to this point and it pivots and it creates a resistance area, well, this is still in an uptrend. So theoretically, since it's got this void to here, it should be able to take that out and continue. And pretty basic stuff. However, if that reference point that was created it's not there now, stalls, and then it starts moving down from there, our bias begins to change. So we use trend analysis, bar by bar analysis, and pivots and support and resistance to guide us on a continuous basis. So going into today, the information we have right now is to suggest that this should be able to come up into this area over here. And now we're going to see exactly what it's going to be able to do. Actually, I'm looking at this let me clean that up. I got this mess over here. 289. So yeah, we're about here. And 291-ish kind of looks odd. When we look at the futures, this will probably be clearer, because I don't see anything here at 291, the bottom of this bar, which really should, the bottom of that bar should be this. Well, I guess whatever, it's in the area there. Though the futures will typically look a little bit clearer to us. What's saying bar by bar allowed me to go from short to long yesterday. Well, Howard, all the master trader technical strategies that are in that course and in the swing course, I created for myself to do what is doing for you, to force me to update information so that I don't get stuck in the past with the prior analysis. So we have to say, this is what's happening now, right? This is a reference point that we'll deal with when and if it gets there. It may not, right? Based on, creating resistance. And then as far as this week goes, we've got a couple of days, assuming that this actually follows through. Well, just because this reference point is here, it doesn't mean it can't go through it. We'll see what the reaction is there. So by the end of day Friday, our interest is going to be, well, how far was this able to actually retrace into this collapse? Or does it not even get to this level? Let's say for whatever reason today, it doesn't get there and it rolls back down and we've got a red bar. Completely changes the outlook as to what it is in this moment. And this is what we have to do as traders, right? We look at these multiple time frames. The weekly trend is up, right? However, we can see that the momentum stalled since this only just made a peekaboo new high there and started to roll over. So this is potentially in question as to whether this will hold or whether this is, look, this could just be a big sideways mess here for now. We're just trying to take advantage of these short-term moves as active investors and traders, but our job is to recognize the fact that this is no joke. The way this came down is pretty serious, meaning that there's power to it, of course, the same way, as I said, there was power here. And at that point, while this created a void below, it then created a support point and launched the next move up. So all of the tools that we use based on MTS allow us to update information on a continuous basis from moment to moment or day to day, right? From a day chart and weekly chart, or as an intraday chart, we'll do the same thing using hourly charts and 5-minute charts or whatever time frames you choose to use. So cues, right? We know that the way things have been moving lately, kind of like the same thing, little variations of it, but the same thing, gap down, reversal, got some resistance right here. We call that subjective resistance since prices traded above and below. In reality, there's really nothing there, as you can see here on the intraday chart, but others will use this as a reference point. And we'll see what happens. And well, let's just go to the futures here. What time is it? 9:10. We got some time. So here we've got the S&Ps, right? The ES pushing up into that swing low. What was support should become resistance, but we call this a subjective reference point because, again, traded above and below. And MTS says, well, that neutralizes it. But we know it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy because many traders are looking at it. So as this is moving up, we can look at the intraday timeframes. And as you can see, this stalled here. This line was there from yesterday. It stalled there and it went sideways. So that's what we call bullish price action, going sideways. And you can see the little bottoming tail bar right there. And notice the little dip and then the recovery. So buyers continue to step up. And this is now pushing up to what theoretically should go up to this 29.20 area, the next reference point. That's where it started to move down from. So that's where that looks like where it should be headed based on this. And so now the week, well, that's a monthly. Actually, I thought I usually have that on a weekly. Turning into a bottoming tail bar. But again, we got a couple of days to go. We'll see where it heads. And Qs. Similar pattern, right? Starting to perk up here, getting a bottoming tail bar. 50 MA, that's the green line, 7,700, all the way up here, which is in alignment with this congestion there. Maybe that's the actual target area where it may be headed toward. I'll just keep that in mind. YM, right, same story. Right, coming up to this reference, it went sideways. It's starting to perk up here, and 2644.37, and it's an area. And we do the same thing. You know, what if it pivots here? Well, the trend is up. It should continue to the resistance. But if it double tops and breaks support, well, that bias goes out the window. Right? All of this becomes common sense thinking once you get the method down. Right? Here are the Russell futures. Pretty much the same pattern. This really got a crushing coming all the way back down to the June low there. So this was the weakest of the week. But sometimes that begins to outperform because it's got the biggest void. And we'll see that's beginning to perk up as well. And a lot of what's helping here, and if this didn't stabilize, probably market wouldn't have bounced at all, is the fact this exhaustion gap in the ultra short of treasuries, which is interest rates, you know, bond yields gapping down like that and now beginning to recover with a counter trend move on a climactic type of a buy setup. We'll see how far that gets, so we'll keep an eye on that. And the transports, you know, so everything got a shellacking on this move down. I remember that the day that prices moved down like this, I think the only sector that was up was gold. You couldn't find a sector that had any green in it. But things are beginning to recover. And as I said, we're going to see how far all of this goes by the end of the week. Oil, bouncing here a little bit, just, you know, came down to where there's support. No magic here. You know, I've said it once. I've probably said it 500 times over the last 20 years. Look to the left and see what's there. Forget the trend lines, forget the fib lines, forget the Elliott waves. Just look to the left and see where the buyers were before. They'll show up again. And see what candle patterns form. Right? Candles, trend, location. I did a chart of the week. If you didn't read it last night, log on to the site, go look at the chart of the week. I explained that on a chart. And it probably help you with just the simple approach of how to do that. Bonds backing off a little bit here. Right? You know, as yields pop up, the TBT pops up, this comes down. And it got a little extended here, but a power move, which suggests it's going to go higher. So we'll see how far it pulls back. I explained some of this in that chart of the week with what moves like this and retracements. So good read. Gold got a little extended, wide range bar, nice reversal, 1, 2, 3 continuation. So it's stalled here. This moved up while the broader markets moved down. So now as the broader market stabilize, gold will take a little break. And then we measure retracements or the lack thereof. If it goes sideways, right, that's bullish price action. Silver down here a little bit. And just an inside bar, no biggie, wide range bar up. And we see the bottoming tail bars right there. So bar by bar analysis, trend, location, wash, repeat, do it over and over again, multiple time frames. So let's say the education, the job you have is to assimilate what we teach here at Master Trader. And so once you've heard it, and ideally have taken our course, whether it's options or swing trading or the whole course, is to then watch it over and over again, look at your charts, practice bar by bar, repeating it until it starts to become second nature, so that, you know, the thing is what they call unconscious competence, that you don't have to think about it anymore. You look at the charts and, you know, your mind just processes it in the moment. So that being said, it's all yours, Dan.
All right, good morning, thank you. I was just looking at my pre-market ETFs here. I'm seeing well, many things perking, obviously, but look at the XLF. That's nah, that's a mess. All right, opens. We have whiskey core long. I legged into a covered call. We tried getting a put spread yesterday, and I didn't get filled, unfortunately. We have Google as a put spread, up nicely here today. Wow, up $10, very nice. Nice. Swing trader, CVS, long stock, nice bullish gap here, bottoming pattern. Casey, bullish engulfing, we entered that into the close. Tilray, we have a covered call. It's perking here a little bit. I saw MJ perking. I saw Cron perking on my gap list, 1550. It's still sloppy, but it might be shaping up. Let it stabilize a couple more days. ZTS, we legged into a covered call yesterday. That looks great. AEO, we're short stock. And I tightened the stop, and same with the Urban, we're short. We shorted the 1, 2, 3s. SIBO, we have a covered call. And INOV, long stock. And that's it. So gappers now, I mentioned TLT would be a call spread today. I was trying to get it on a little bounce today, and obviously that's not happening. We're gapping down $1. Stamp, 57 bucks. Wow. That's the one that got creamed. Look at that, 200 bucks down to 33. Wow. All right, so that's a put spread candidate on a pullback. TRGP, 38 bucks. It's a big gap, nothing to do. AMC, 12.22. And this was, this is the movie theaters that also got creamed with Netflix, etc. That's a bullish gap. Another put spread candidate. KWH 760, that's a nasty gap and a nasty downtrend. That's a bearish monthly chart right there. You got consecutive bearish 1, 2, 3s. 27 bucks, that's a bearish gap. KHC, oh, I heard Kramer on TV today saying KHC has the absolute worst brands labeled products in the world. It actually on the weekly was kind of a reverse head and shoulders with a lower right shoulder, obviously, but that's a big old price boy, but now it's just getting whacked. Zulu Golf, 43 bucks. That's a nasty gap. Let's look for call spreads on a bounce. Light, 60 bucks, gap, and it's a bullish gap, but it's a bullish pre-market. That, who knows? That might be a gap and go. I just don't. We'll watch it. Let me put it right here. At first, I was going to cancel it. Just, it's a big gap here, but the very bullish pre-market is why I'm saying let's keep that. Is why I'm thinking it could be a gap and go. 2350. That's a big old ugly gap. Uber is just perking here because Lyft had nice earnings. And I even mentioned it to the close that this was a climactic buy setup. And I was looking to sell puts on it yesterday, but there was no juice. Cron, we looked at. Yeah, definitely Lyft. But you know the drill. Go through with a gap this big, though. you know, we want our put spreads way the heck here. So, you know, right here, I would even use this 15-minute pivot, McGraw. So the low of that is 60 bucks. So tell me what you're going to get for $60 put spread. But yeah, the pattern's there, sure. Wow. Wow, this is the disaster of the day so far. Look at that whacking. 45% gap down. Wow, I don't even know what that company does or what's going on today, but it is getting punished. LNG up $1, 62 bucks. You know, I'm all about selling put spreads for that expire tomorrow. All for it. So I know one of you mentioned Netflix. It's, I don't know, you're fighting a nasty trend. I mean, Google is superior than Netflix. Look, that was a pro gap, filled the gap, rising 50, 20, engulfing bars, bottoming tails. This is just dwarfs it. Light, 60 bucks. That's the one I just mentioned right there. And it's breaking out on that bullish pre-market. Fold. What do you got for us? Nothing. Just deleting you. Ka, 44 bucks. You're a mess. I'm deleting you. AMC, we already talked about. SWKS. Gapping down. It's a mess. You're gone. Stamp, we already talked about. SRPT. 137. That's a bearish gap. That's a call spread candidate. RCII is flat, garbage. Booking 1916. Big old, that's a nice engulfing bar. If this did not have earnings today, I would have said that was a put spread candidate for Friday. That is a beautiful reversal right there. Arna, we talked about Virgo. It's gapping and coming in. Your garbage. VIAB 3061. It's a bullish gap at no price void. And you know what, folks? I just so you know, I could do this filtering myself and then just show you the best, you know, the ones that made it through my screening. But I do this on purpose. You all know that, right? I do this on purpose because I get emails of, oh, what's a pro gap? What, you know, what's a gap too big? You know, I get all kinds of gap questions and I answer them, but really, it's, you have to see thousands of examples. And so that's what I'm doing here together. So some of these I just get rid of. Some of them are tier one. Some of them I say we got to come back to in 15, 30 minutes. Yeah, it had earnings, banking. It was either last night or this morning. I don't care which, but it's out. That's what I'm saying. Alex, yeah, I mentioned AMC. I like. Yeah, I have it in a window. Yeah. Let me put them in this window also. Yeah, I mentioned it. Trip, you're garbage. You still look lower. You're gapping up here. You're in a downtrend, daily, weekly. I'd keep that on your short watch list, even though it's gapping up. Zulu 4250. So is this the same as Zulu Golf? Just a part two, I think. I think there's sister companies. This was a climactic buy setup. Look, you got fluid bars down. You got a green bar bottoming tail, pick up in volume, but it's just for a partial retracement. Weekly, monthly are still ugly. All right, let's look at Fabio's list. Roku, yeah, it's on my list. I just haven't gotten to it. Roku to me is gapping too big. Just, it's an 18% gap. I would have to see what it does. AVLR, 88.45, gapping. I mean, this is really sloppy. And, I would put that as a tier 2 myself. CVNA, 70.60, it's gapping too big for me. Yeah, it's AMC. My two favorites so far, Light, because of that bullish pre-market, Light and AMC. Short, Zulu, it's gapping too big for me. We talked about KHC, WIBGE, 2350, it's gapping too big for me. And when I say too big, ignore the numbers. I'm looking at the amount of airspace relative to the pattern. That's how I view too big or not. I see a QSR perk in here. That was on my list yesterday, and look at that. I think right here in the morning, I said if it closes strong, we're buying it. And look, this is a picture of, Greg will tell you. Greg, this is a picture of when I say we'll come back to it in the afternoon. Okay, Dan, we'll see you later. That's what that's what happened there. Emu, what's going on with Emu? 1438, that's garbage. Traders look great, good job. 37.25, near garbage. Now, when I say garbage, it's because I need to winnow down my list, or I'm gonna have too much to look at. Fossil, $10, you're garbage. Triple D, that's a bearish gap. Wow, this was look at this. This was the 3D printing company. Can you look? Do you all who have been with us for a while, we talk about trading the atom, the stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way back down. I cannot believe this is a perfect bell curve of emotions. Wow. Now it's gapping to multi-year lows. Something is seriously wrong with that stock. I wonder, I don't even know who their competitors are, but McGraw, do you know how they're, any competitors surviving in that space? 57, it's a bullish gap, but conflicting time frames. Right, my question is, what are the symbols? Are there any others? From AAOI, gap in, hey, tell me what I like about this. Do you see what jumps out at you? Remember Greg used the term unconscious competence, and just my brain, it knows what to look at. The daily's a total mess. Monthly's on a downtrend, but look at this W bottom on the weekly. I wish it had a bigger price void, like didn't have this sideways, but that's just a beautiful W pattern. So McGraw, that could be a put spread candidate. All right, there's our Roku. Yeah, Roku looks like it might be a gap and go, even though I said the gap's too big for me, and it just has to be your I only do big gappers like this with a bullish pre-market, and this is a bullish pre-market. I wouldn't do it here after 1 minute, but maybe 5-minute high. Here, look at Light. This is also a bullish pre-market. This is a 5-minute high candidate. AMC, the same. 5-minute high candidate. The smallest stop has to be pre-market low. The more logical stop, you know, a little bit further under, you know, even under this small closing pivot. But I have them both here in 5-minute windows. Angie, this poor woman, is not having a good day. A cruise ship is a mess. You're gone. NBEV. I saw a little gap up in NBEV, but you're still not ready. So how many gappers there were today? Lyft. There's